friends and welcome to Obsidian Soft. Today I will teach you how to make a memory game in MIT App Inventor that is a picture matching game. As you can see, we have these picture cards face down on the screen. When we tap on a card, it is turned upwards. We have to find the matching picture card. If we are successful, they stay up, otherwise both cards are turned face down again. Now we need to use our brain power and memory to remember their positions and make use of it while playing the game. The game is over when we find all the pairs. So let's begin. Start a new project. Let's call it Memory Game. Keep the toolkit default. In Screen 1's properties, make screen orientation portrait and let's change the title to Memory Game. We will be making a 4x4 grid type of layout, so there will be a total of 16 cards on the screen. That is 8 pairs. So we need 8 images. So I have these images and I'm going to upload them by selecting them and just dragging them until this dashed box shows. From the layout palette, drag and drop a horizontal arrangement onto the viewer. In its properties, make align horizontal and align vertical both center. Make the height 20% and the width fill parent. From user interface, drag and drop a button inside this horizontal arrangement. Make the background color orange. Make height fill parent and the width 25%. Remove the text from it. Select this button and duplicate it by pressing Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V on the keyboard for Windows or Command+C, Command+V on the keyboard for Mac OS. Again, duplicate this and duplicate it again. So we should have 4 buttons in our horizontal arrangement. Now select this horizontal arrangement and duplicate it. Duplicate it again and duplicate it one more time. Now we have some space left here, so drag and drop a horizontal arrangement below all these buttons. Make align horizontal center, align vertical center and make the height 15% and the width fill parent. And we are going to just put a button here and let's rename it to reset button. I'm going to make its color a custom, a bit darker than this color, like this. Okay, and make font bold, font size 20, width 30%, shape rounded, change the text to reset and change the text color to white. Last but not the least, we need a clock sensor. So from sensors, drag and drop a clock. It's a non-visible component. In its properties, turn off timer enabled and timer interval should stay 1000 milliseconds, which means 1 second. The screen design is done, so let's go to the block section. We need 2 lists. So go to variables. This is our buttons list. So initialize it by using the empty list block from lists. Right click, duplicate, and now this is our images list. The buttons list will contain our 16 buttons, which will act like our cards, and the image list will contain the images behind those cards. Now we need another variable for maintaining the position of the button that has been tapped by the user, that is its position inside the buttons list. Okay, so this is button index, and we are going to initialize it to a math block 0. We also need to maintain a Boolean variable, so I'm going to right click, duplicate, is first selected, and as the name implies, it will tell whether we are selecting or tapping on the first card or the second card. So this is a Boolean variable, logic, and we are going to make it false. We also need a Boolean variable to stop clicking too many buttons at the same time. So whenever the user presses or taps a button, we don't want that he double taps or taps too many buttons at the same time. We want the system to process to match the picture. So for that, we need to make another Boolean variable, and this is allow button clicks. So this is initially true because we want the first time when the game is started, we want the button to be clicked. Right click, duplicate. This variable is for storing the image of the first card tapped by the user. So this is first selected image, and I'm just going to make it an empty text block. And we also need to store the two buttons, the two button components that have been clicked by the user, tapped by the user. So I'm going to right click, duplicate, and this is first button, right click, duplicate, second button. Okay, I'm going to remove unused blocks. So our global variables have been defined. So what happens when the game is started and the screen is initialized? So get the when screen 1 initialize event. What we want to do when the game is started is that first of all, we are going to make a local variable. So get this, and this is just images, and we are going to initialize it to an empty list block. So this is the list of images. So we will load it up with all these images, that is the 8 images, and then we are going to just add these images 2 times to the images list. So that will make it a total of 16. So let's do that. What is the list? The images list, and we put in the image. So if I click on button 1 and if I go down, I can get this image block. Okay, right click, duplicate, and make this 2, right click, duplicate, make this 3. So we have to do it for all the 8 images. Okay, so all the images have been added. Now we have this images list which has 8 images in it. If we add them twice to the images list, we will get those 16 images that will represent the images behind the cards. If I go to control and get for each item in list block, make sure you put it inside the local variable block. For each item in which list, the images list, I am going to add, so I can duplicate this add items block from here, but here not 1.png and not this list, but the images list. So just add the item to the images list. So as this loop will run 8 times, because there are 8 total images, so all the 8 images will be added to the images list, and we just need to do it one more time to get those 16 images. I hope you're getting it now. So we have our 16 images, then we have our buttons. Now, how to add all our buttons, those 16 buttons. So for that, we can use this any component, which is a very awesome feature of MIT App Inventor. And if I click on any button, I have this every button block here. And this represents all the buttons that have been added in your project. So all the 16 buttons plus the reset button, this is the list that contains all those buttons. So what we can do is we can add all the buttons to our buttons list except the reset button. And how can we do that? If again I go to control and get this for each item. Now we can be outside the local variable. For each item in list, every button, get the control if block from logic, get the equal to block and make it not equal to. And if the item, because remember each item is a button, if the item is not equal to the reset button, so if I go and click on reset button, I can actually get the component. So if the item is not equal to reset button, right click, duplicate to get the add items block and change this to the buttons list, and this will stay get item. So add all the buttons except the reset button to the buttons list, and that will give us our 16 buttons list. We also need a way of shuffling the cards so that the cards don't have the same images in the same positions every time the game has started. For this, we need to shuffle our images list, this list. So we are going to make a procedure for shuffling. Let's call it shuffle. It takes in an input, which is a list, and it also returns a list. The result is a list. And what's the code? From lists, get the make new sorted list from block. Okay, and here from this list, where item 1 precedes item 2 if from math, get the random fraction block, and from math again, get the equal to block and make it less than, plug this in. If the random fraction is less than, from math again get a number block 0.5. So this will basically randomize all the items in your list and return a new list. So it will be basically shuffling the list. So at the end of screen initialize, we're going to call this procedure shuffle, and we're going to set our images list to a shuffle of again the images list. So just duplicate this from here and put it here. So this will shuffle the images list. So every time when you will open the app, start the app, the images will be in a different position. Now make another custom procedure called reset. This is for resetting all the global variables to their initial state and also for shuffling the list and restarting the game. So first of all, we are going to do the same thing again, that is shuffle the images. Secondly, we are going to reset all our cards to a face down state. So how can we do that? We can use our buttons list, go to control, get the for each item in list block, and this is now right click, duplicate the buttons list, and we are going to use our any component. So again, any component comes in action because we can now work with all our buttons in our buttons list at the same time instead of fixing each button separately. So what we're going to do is we are going to set our buttons background color, and here the component is the item from our buttons list, and the background color we are going to set it to the orange color. So this is the face down state of the button because we want to restart the game. So all the cards should not be turned upwards anymore, they should be turned face down. Another thing to do is that we want to change the image to an empty text block, that is, the image is also not showing. And we also want to enable the buttons because we will be disabling all the paired buttons, all the cards that have been found by the user, we will be disabling them. So if the user has pressed the reset button, we want that they are enabled again. So set enabled to true. So all the cards are now face down, no images showing, and they're all enabled. Next are our global variables. So go to variables, get the set block. Set is first selected to false. Right click, duplicate. Allow button clicks. True. Right click, duplicate. First button empty now, duplicate. Second button empty now. So back to that original state. Button index 0. And very important, we are going to disable the timer. So go to clock. So this will make more sense when we work on the button click event. Remove the unused blocks. So we are done with part 1 of this tutorial, and we will complete this memory game app in the next class. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss the great projects that I've planned for you. Thank you for watching. Have a good day and goodbye.